All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going through a super practical checklist to make your full-stack application faster, cheaper, and way more solid. We're going to cut through the noise and get straight to the stuff that actually works. So, does any of this sound familiar? Maybe your users are complaining that things feel sluggish. Or you look at your cloud bill each month and it's just creeping up and up. Or, every time you get a traffic spike, you're kind of holding your breath just hoping the whole system doesn't tip over. Yeah, these are all classic signs of performance debt, and honestly, it can be a huge drain on everyone.
But here's the good news. We can absolutely fix this. And I'm not talking about some massive, year-long project to rewrite everything from scratch. Nope, we're talking about smart, targeted changes that have a huge impact, and you can literally start on them today. So, let's dive in.
First up, let's open up what I call the Performance First Aid Kit. Think of these as the low-hanging fruit. They're the quick wins that give you the most bang for your buck, and you don't have to re-architect your whole application to do them. Okay, first aid item number 1, tackling the classic N+1 query problem. Seriously, this one is everywhere. Imagine you need 100 things from the grocery store. The N+1 way is like driving to the store, buying one single item, driving all the way home, and then repeating that 99 more times. It's crazy, right? That's what you're doing to your database. The solution is batching. You make one trip to get all the users, a second trip to get all their related data, and then you just stitch it together in your app. It is so much more efficient. And I'm not exaggerating the impact here. The difference is absolutely massive. We're not talking about a 10% improvement. By making this one little change, you can easily cut your database round trips by 100 times, sometimes even more. It's a huge, huge win from such a small code change.
All right, quick win number 2. Stop overfetching data. If all you need is a user's ID and phone number, for the love of all that is holy, don't ask the database for their entire life story. Use what's called a projection to ask for only the specific fields you need. The magic here is that it lets the database answer your question using just its index, without ever having to go find the full document. That's a covered query, and it will slash your resource usage, especially in systems like Cosmos DB or Mongo.
Next up, let's talk about a real lifesaver for data pipelines, the upsert. You know how data loading jobs sometimes fail halfway through and you have to rerun them? Well, an upsert is what stops you from creating a bunch of duplicate records on that second run. It just says, hey, if this thing already exists, update it. If not, create it. This makes your job idempotent. You can run it 1,000 times and the result will still be correct. It's your best friend for building robust systems. And here are a few more rapid-fire wins for you. 1. Reuse your HTTP clients. Creating a new one for every single request is super wasteful. 2. Tune your database connection pool. Find that sweet spot that matches your workload. 3. Cut down on crazy verbose logging, especially on your busiest endpoints. Constantly writing huge files to disk can actually become a bottleneck. And finally, if a service tells you you're making too many requests, listen to it. Back off exponentially so you're not just hammering a system that's already struggling.
So everything in that first aid kit is pretty much a universal win. But, the really big gains, they often come from knowing the specialist tools for your specific tech stack. Performance is not a one-size-fits-all game, so let's get a little more targeted.
This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. If you're on a modern Java stack, using virtual threads is an absolute game changer for anything that waits on I/O. For you Python folks, combining the power of async with a faster JSON library like OR.json can give you a massive throughput boost. It really pays to know the latest and greatest features of your own platform.
And hey, for those of you working with Cosmos DB, a hot partition can be your worst enemy. That's when you see one of your partitions just slammed at 100% usage while all the others are chilling. That is almost always a sign that your partition key isn't doing its job of spreading the load. You probably need a key with more unique values. Also, a pro tip. Give your autoscaler plenty of headroom, like double your typical peak usage. That way, it can absorb sudden traffic spikes without throttling all your requests.
And for all my Postgres people out there, here's your version of that upsert we talked about. The insert onConflict command is the built-in, super efficient way to handle that update it if it exists, insert it if it doesn't logic. It's clean, it's wicked fast, and it's just the right way to do it in Postgres.
Okay, we have covered a ton of awesome fixes, but I've saved the most important rule for last. Do not guess. Seriously, making changes to your system without measuring the impact is like trying to perform surgery blindfolded. You need data. You have to know if what you're doing is actually making things better, or maybe even making them worse. So how do you do it right? It's a simple process. First, get a baseline. Measure everything before you touch a single line of code.
Look at your CPU, your memory, and especially your P95 latency. That's the real experience for most of your users. Then you make one change at a time, and you measure it all again. It's the only way to know for sure if you've actually won.
And this really brings us to the absolute heart of it all. You could spend the next 6 months applying every single tip from this checklist, but that's not the goal. The goal is to find the 1 or 2 things that are causing 80% of the pain. And to do that, you have to ask yourself one question.
And that question is, what is my hotspot right now? Is it a slow database query? Is it waiting on some external API? Is it a clunky algorithm buried deep in the code? The entire art and science of performance tuning boils down to just finding that hotspot. Because once you find it, the fix is usually way simpler than you think.
So that's the takeaway. That's the loop you want to live by. Use your tools to find the bottleneck, apply a targeted, surgical fix, and then measure to prove that you made a difference. Don't guess. Don't try to fix everything at once. Just find it, fix it, and measure it. So, where's the first place you're going to look?